My name is Kush Noma Begum and my date of birth is 3rd of October 1983.
So I'm just going to start, just going to explore a little bit about your family background, and if you can tell me a little bit about your mum and dad and where they were born and their early life, what you remember.
Well, my parents were both born in Southport, so they grew up there all their lives. They obviously lived with my grandparents, and I think when my dad was after my parents got married, in the late 60s, my dad came to England for work. So he stayed here a good few years, went back and forth to support the family, and with my mum being over there as well. And I think when he was about a bit stabilised with everything, he started for an application to bring my mother over, and at that time, I wasn't born myself, but 6 of my older brothers and sisters were born, and they came over in 1982, and I was born in 1983 over here.
So when your dad came to England for work, do you know where he ended up? Where did he?
He brought my mum along and the rest of my brothers and sisters. He was in Bradford working in the factories for a very long time. I think that I know he worked in like a chain factory, and I think it was a glass factory. And but after he got my mum, I think he picked Sunderland to settle down in, and before he got my mum, he obviously came here for about a year or so, and he liked it, and he said that's where we're going to settle. So yeah, my mum came straight to Sunderland.
And what did he work? What did he?
Yes.
Did he find work?
At first, trying to think. Well, this was before I was born. He used to. I think there was a factory, in the sewing factory down in Pennywell. He used to work in there, and then because of his health condition, it didn't work very long because he was a heart patient and he had diabetes. So it didn't work that long, but he worked a few years.
So you had 6 siblings?
Yeah.
And were they born in Bangladesh?
They were all born in Bangladesh, but they were very young when they came to Sunderland.
And you were born in the UK?
Yes.
So I'm just going to ask you maybe what your experiences, what you can remember of your experiences in Bangladesh when you went back to Bangladesh at any time?
Obviously, my first visit to Bangladesh was in 1990 when I was about 7, and from then on, well, before that, my dad used to come and go, and my first visit was in 1990, and we used to, at that time, we used to come and go quite a few times over the years. We did, not myself, but my mum with my older brother and sister did get the chance to go once, and I had been coming and going. So the earliest memories I have was I think when we used to stay back in Southport in the village, and it was spending time with my grandparents. Obviously, my dad's dad, he was there at the time we used to go and visit, and also my mum's dad was there. So it was a really nice feeling because we've never experienced any kind of, obviously there was no school, so we were out and about exploring the fields and everything, and it was just so nice to be there because we'd never experienced anything like that before.
So there's a real sense of extended family?
Yes, had a very big extended family. My mum's sisters, brothers were there, my dad's sister and cousins, so it was actually a really nice experience to meet everyone as we'd never met them before. So, well, I hadn't, and that's when I got to know my extended family, and then that stayed on up till now, to have a relationship with them.
And that's important?
Yeah, that's very important to me, yeah. And that's what I've gone on to teach my children to say that it's really important to find where your extended family are, where they are, how they are, and keep a contact with them and keep that relationship with them.
So, if you could just maybe as a child going back, and maybe now as an adult, describe a little bit what the village was like and maybe how it's changed in the last 10 years.
Right. Well, to tell you, I actually in 1996 I actually moved over to Bangladesh because my parents decided to settle over there, and myself and my younger brother, being the youngest, we went with them, and I actually stayed there for about 8 years. So that was the most important 8 years of my life as well. At that time, the village, if you compare it to now, then it didn't have, well, the bazaar and everything was there. We had the stalls, and it's always been a good, where you have a tight community. Everyone's looking after each other, looking out for each other, and it was just a different feeling. It's just I'd always love to go out and spend a couple of days there, which we did every now and then.
And what was your house like?
Well, inside in the village, our house was just a one-story house with about, I would say it was 3 rooms. Obviously, we'd only go there and spend a couple of nights there, so it was about 3 rooms. We had a bathroom at the back, but I've heard that years ago when my dad was younger and my mum had gotten married, they didn't even have the bathroom at the back of the house. It was outside, so they had to go outside to use the toilets and everything. But I mean, after a good few years, my dad had been able to add the extended bathroom onto the house, so it was good in a way where we didn't have to worry about going outside to the bathrooms and everything. But so it was 3 rooms, and we had like 2 bedrooms and a little kitchen area, and another extra area to like it was an extra room, just like a storage room. So it was still nice. We had wooden I don't know what you call it, wooden shutters, yeah, that you could open and close, and everything was actually, it was built by my grandfather's father. The main building was actually built by my grandfather's father, which is still intact, but my dad's had to occasionally change the roof and everything because of the weather. But it just gives me really, I don't know, gives me, when I see it and think, oh my goodness, this was built ages ago, and it's still got little detail of my grandfather's father, my grandfather, of what they'd done, how the changes they made to the house. It's just really overwhelming, really, to think about it.
And see, when you were 7 when you went back.
The first time I went back, I was 7.
So.
But then when I went to settle, I was about 12.
Yeah. So you'd been used to
I've gone.
Yeah. How did you cope with the different changing culture? Because were you bilingual, or were you speaking English? Did you have to improve your other language?
Language-wise, when growing up, we were always, even though in England, Sunderland, we were going to school and everything, my parents always wanted us to continue our own language, which was Bengali. We were, at that time, forbidden to speak English in the house, because my dad always said, if you continue to speak English all the time, even in the house, you're going to lose your own language. So at that time, we weren't, any time we were in the house, we had to communicate just using Bengali. And I think that was good in a sense, whereas up till now, I am able to understand Bengali very well, I'm able to speak it very well. But if we hadn't been given that option of, you know, just carrying on English in the home as well, I think we might have lost it. But I'm actually really grateful for that, where our dad, at the time it felt like, oh, why do we have to speak Bengali in the house? But now I understand why he wanted us to carry on speaking Bengali in the house. And that's very important. That's actually a rule that I use with my own kids now.
So they're bilingual?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And that would be really important when you went back?
Yes, because it's when whether myself or nowadays, I think having that rule in head, I was able to communicate when I went to Bangladesh. I didn't have any difficulties talking to any one of the elders, my cousins. It was easy. I felt as if it was. I mean, I understood everything that they said, and it was easy just to get by.
There must have been a contrast between schools, English schools and schools.
Definitely.
So what was it like in the school in the village?
In the village, well, obviously, first thing would be you start at school later on in the morning, and then they teach like in the village school they teach say math. English wasn't as much as a requirement then. They teach the basics, whereas maths and the Bengali language was a must. So I think most focus when you're younger was on that, really. Whereas in England, in all areas, the priority is given in all other areas as well. But most of all, it was to learn to read and write in Bengali, and maths was as a must.
Mm-hmm. And did you have a lot of friends when you went back?
I eventually made friends, yeah. It was a moderate amount.
Yeah. And would you be asked to wear a uniform?
Yeah, in school there'd be a uniform. Let's say there'd be a specific colour, let's say a blue. Most of the common colours was a blue and white, and it'd be a dress with trousers for girls, yeah.
Just when you are in Bangladesh and in the village, did you travel much? And where did you travel to? And
within the
did you
village?
travel? Yeah.
Well, within the village, yes, we would. We'd obviously, because more at that time when I was younger, a lot of the family, the relatives, they lived in the village. Everyone was settled in the village, so we would travel mostly by feet. But when it was the monsoon season, the rainy season, I'd love to go on the boats. We had the boats. That was just, we couldn't wait when it was the rainy season to get on the boat and travel by boat, really. And everywhere we went, it would be by boat. But even then, when it was a dry season, we'd walk to our relatives' houses, and even though it didn't seem long when you walk, you just enjoy the environment outside. You'd see the greenery and everything. It was just nice to walk and go there, really.
And what was the monsoon season like as a child?
It was very. I didn't like the rain, but I liked it when I was travelling on the boat. Very heavy rain, very heavy rain. Maybe a good month or two, you'd non-stop rain.
And you'd still go to school?
Yeah, people just jump on they'd have like in the monsoon season, what they'll have is like a boat. It's like a school bus, and it'll be a school bus.
Yeah.
They'll have a school boat. Say it'll not be the school's property, but what they'll do is a few of the neighbours will get together, and one of the family's boat will pick up all the children for school, drop them off to school, and when it's home time, ready to pick them up, they'll send one of the boats down to pick the kids up.
Just in terms of the difference in life, or the contrast, in the UK there's obviously healthcare and other services. How does that compare when you're
in the village?
Yes.
Well, in England, everyone has free healthcare. They have self-services in accessible areas. But in the village inside Pore, obviously healthcare is not free, so everyone has to pay for it wherever they're ill. If they need to see the doctors for medication, they would need to pay for it. And the most important thing is the village doctor. They'd only have like a couple of village doctors, and they'd need to try and contact that doctor or go to that doctor's house to go and see him. And obviously, if it was anything serious, they would have to make that journey of going to to the nearest city, which would be Silla, and go and see, say, a specialised doctor, which would obviously then cost them a bit more. And whereas being a village doctor, obviously he needs to make his living, but then I've noticed that village doctors sometimes they just come and do their rounds, asking around if everyone's okay, if everyone's got any problems. That's something nice that the village doctors used to do as well. Just coming around and asking if everyone's okay, if they needed anything.
Were you ever ill as a child?
No,
No.
I can't remember ever being in, haven't really experienced being in hospital or anything in Bangladesh.
What were the occasions where the family would come together?
Well, the family would, you don't really need any excuse for family to come together inside, but they just, whenever they're open, but most of the time it would be, big events would be like weddings, Eid, Ramadan. I mean, that's I think that's what I enjoyed the most, is spending Eid over there. Even sometimes when we moved to the city, we did used to go out and spend Eid over at the village, because it's just a different atmosphere. You get to see a lot of your own relatives, the older people as well, and it's just a whole different atmosphere. And especially weddings, at that time when we were younger, weddings was such a big an event. Everyone, literally the whole village was invited, and you'd had to have massive tents up in your courtyard to attend to everyone. It was really good. It was just a whole different experience. It was really, you could see the love of everyone chipping in with work, and it's just great.
And how important would food be?
Food is the most important thing there, I think. Yeah, food is priority number one. Yeah, whoever is hosting the gathering would have to prioritise food as number one, because everyone wants, you'd need to accommodate a lot of people with Bengali weddings, and especially inside Bur, you have like about 8 to 1,000, 1,200 people, and you need to make sure that everyone gets food, and it is a high quality. So at weddings, obviously, they'd slaughter animals, so they'd get us the biggest cow or whatever there is there. They'd make sure that is cooked. They actually dig massive holes in the ground and make mud oven and for the fire. So they'd have a big massive pots of cooking, pots and pans, and they'd have like chefs cooking away huge amounts of food.
So they'd have to cook outside.
Yeah, they'd always cook outside, because and to cook the food, a lot of preparation need to be done, because they'd need the stoves, they'd need, I don't know, bits of tree trunks to think for the fire. So that all needs to be prepared, and they used to have, everyone helps out with the cooking, whether you've hired someone or it's just people from the family. They always make sure that everyone's there and everyone's supporting each other, because when you're having like massive pans of rice and curry, you need help. And even with the stirring, because there'd be like 2 or 3 people stirring with massive wooden spoons. So it's like everyone's actually fascinated. We used to be fascinated to see all these. We just used to love watching it, because we'd never seen anything like this before. So it was great just watching all this.
And how long would those events last?
About a week. About a week, at least a week. A day in, day out, everyone would be busy with something to do with the event.
And would the men stop working, or would they work, or would it be like a holiday period?
I think they wouldn't stop working. They'd carry on whatever they needed to do. But then once they've finished their work, they'd probably just come in and help, and after they've come back home and support whatever needs doing. They just help out. I mean, a lot of the men need to do their farming, and going out to the fields, but they still carry on that because they do that really early in the morning. And by the afternoon, when it's about 2-3 o'clock, that's when they start wrapping up the work, and they just come and start helping around the house. whatever
So
needs.
the role of women would be really important in those events.
Yes, in those events, the role of women is very important. As in, they'd literally be in charge. Well, in those events, to tell you the truth, the cooking wise, they'd be in charge of providing the necessities. As in, obviously, cooking wise, a lot of in those big events, it'd be men cooking, but then you'll have the women on the side providing all the necessities to cook all these, and then obviously for directions for how people need to be seated, where if people have eaten or not. That is, you could say, it's a role for both men and women, but the women tend to take it on as a like with more priority, with full more charge to seeing to everyone. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how important within all of your experience as a young person growing up and going to school in Bangladesh was your faith, and did that develop even more in Bangladesh?
Faith obviously is within our Saidpur, faith is actually a number one priority. So we literally do everything based on our faith and our day-to-day lives. Obviously our faith, whereas our faith is involved in our day-to-day lives, everything we do is just based on our faith. And I think that's developed beginning when I was young, and going back and forth to Bangladesh, that's made my faith even stronger, because it's just made me look at things differently. Like you see people, a lot of people, you see people that are not well off, but then they're still very, very grateful for whatever little they have, and they all say that, look, if you believe in your faith and believe in God, I'm happy, I'm content with whatever I have. So that makes you realise a lot of things. So it makes you have a strong faith. You believe even stronger in your faith. So.
And you're married with children now.
Yeah.
So where were you married?
Well, like I said, I settled in Bangladesh when I was 12, and I lived there for a good few years, and I got married when I was 19 in Bangladesh. So it was an arranged marriage.
And how did you feel about that?
I was okay with it. I mean, I was okay with it as in, at the end of the day, I thought my mum and dad know best. They want what's best for me, and I agreed to it. Obviously, I'd saw my husband beforehand, and they did ask me, "What do you think?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine. It's, you know, you want what's best for me," and I accepted it. And I'm being married for 17 years now. So, you know, I think it was the right choice.
And so you came back to England. When did you come back to the UK?
Well, obviously I came back to the UK 1.5 years later after I got married, and it was a long. I'd come back after say 8 years, so I hadn't been here for 8 years, and a lot of things had changed. It was just new to me again, and just a bit difficult trying to get used to everything. But I had a lot of family and friends, so I had a lot of support. Just to get back on my feet and everything, because obviously I was living with my family and get back into work, and I was expecting my first child as well. So I had a lot of support, and then 3 years later my husband came over and joined me.
As a point of contrast, you've got experience of the UK, Sunderland, and experience of Bangladesh and Saidpur. Can you compare the two areas in relation to your experience of crime or fear of crime?
Well, if we first talk about Saidpur, I think crime it wasn't a lot, not a lot of crime was committed back then. I felt quite safe. Yes, safe as in safe from crime, safe as in any accident. That's different. But because when at our time, whenever we used to go and stay at Saidpur, obviously back in the days, not the whole village had electricity, so it was quite dark. So we wouldn't go naturally. We just wouldn't go out in the dark, but just because of the no electricity, I wouldn't know where I'm going. So, but crime-wise, broad daylight, it was fine. I don't think I've ever felt unsafe. Just roamed around anywhere we wanted, and it was very low crime. It was very low, and my time in Sylhet, when I was staying in Sylhet, again there was crime, but not. I wouldn't say there wasn't a time that I'd felt that I was. There was never a time that I felt I was scared to go out, of not feeling unsafe. So it wasn't that high. And when I moved.
So just before I get to Sunderland, would you go out ever on your own, or would you always be accompanied?
I'd probably in Sylhet, probably because I was young at that age, and I don't think I'd go out on my own, just because of the fact that I don't know my way around, and that really, not because I wouldn't be safe, because I used to see my friends all the time. They used to go out on their own, roaming around in the streets at night, but just because I didn't know my way around, really. So I'd be accompanied by, say, anyone of my family members.
And did that contrast when you came back to Sunderland?
Well, when I came back to Sunderland, it was, at the time, this was in 2003, so it was, I think, whatever was going around the media was quite a lot with, the war in Iraq and everything. That did have an effect, because when I first came down, I thought this was like a good 8 years after I'd moved to Bangladesh. So I thought everyone, everything, slightly had changed, but I experienced a lot of racism and stuff, and I didn't think that I would actually experience this. But there was a lot of racism, and crime-wise, there was quite a bit of assault as well, and abuse. So that made me scared to go out by myself at that time. I think I didn't have the confidence of going out by myself. I'd always have one of my family members going out, and I wouldn't go out in the dark by myself. Because I think mostly it was because of the war, what was happening and stuff. So, but that gradually, I just built the confidence to be able to go out, and so that gradually disappeared, that fear of not being able to go out.
Do you think how, current climate, how has that changed in recent times, or do you talk to your children about it, or do you worry about your children and about racism and or fear of racism?
Fear of racism. I think I wouldn't say I worry, but it's always there. You do get the one or two odd people, but to tell you the truth, now that my children have grown up, it's a lot less. It's a lot less. The people are more accepting and of the different cultures and the different people around them. And the kids have grown up to see that people are accepting, so they don't take racism they don't worry about it, because they know that it's only it's the odd person that makes a comment, and because they've seen the majority of people to be accepting and nice and caring. So I don't think that's really. I do talk about it. We do sometimes when these issues sometimes crop up. They do say, "Oh, how did this happen?" But they know that it's just that one person or that one group. It's not the majority of people. So I think they don't really. I'm not really that worried about it.
Just on a similar vein in comparisons, your culture and faith is an important part of your identity, and being a Muslim is your identity. So when you're in Bangladesh, were you aware of any other faiths?
Yes, well, we were. Well, when I settled in with my parents, we lived in Sylhet, and in Sylhet it's full of Hindus, it's full of, we have monks. So we always saw them, and we always saw their celebrations, even though we didn't actually participate in their celebrations. But, we used to meet neighbours and everyone, and it was nice. It was nice. So we used to always like watch out for their celebration. Oh, there's one of their celebrations coming. It's going to be busy and stuff like that. Really. So it was. We grew up. Meeting, looking at the different festivals that different religions take part in, and it was nice. And we even had Hindu neighbours, so that was when we had a Hindu nurse that used to always pop in and visit us. She was just like a local community nurse. She used to always pop in, and she was just a friendly neighbour. But in Saidpur, I don't think we have any other village. It's just Muslims. We have the one off. We might have the one Hindu, but they're not really permanent residents. They just come and go, and they're not like permanent residents of the village. They may come for work, but then not a lot of other village people from other places live in Saidpur.
Just wondering about your knowledge around the War of Independence, and when did you become aware of that, and how important was that for your family and yourself as a community?
Right, yeah. Well, I became aware of it. Well, I didn't know any history about the war, but then obviously when we settled in and going to school there, it's taught over there. So I knew what happened. I started to learn about what happened, and my mom did have some early memories of the war, even though it didn't really affect Saidpur that much. But there was military coming in and going out, and she'd always say that before it was dark, we had to come back in, and no one was allowed out to the pond area because of the military and stuff. Well, yeah, they were all scared of the military and everything. And she says like at the time, everyone used to support each other, as in look out for military, and because they just used to sometimes come on boats and just come into people's houses. So it was quite a fearful time for them at that time. But like I said, she said they were only in a few times, so it didn't affect Saidpur that much. That's all she remembers.
And is it celebrated?
Yes, it's celebrated in Sylhet. It's celebrated all every year. Obviously, the Independence Day is a huge celebration. The whole schools have to join in, and even organisations. It lasts for a good 2 weeks preparing beforehand, and the celebration the whole week. So it's absolutely massive. The celebrations are huge.
As a young person living in Bangladesh, I'm just wondering how you would entertain yourselves, what you would do for fun, and what was there in the community for you. All
right. Well, to tell you the truth, when I was growing up in Bangladesh, about 13, 14, that for fun, what we'd do is just probably, if we were friends to get together, we'd just play in someone's house, make games up and play in someone's houses. And entertainment wise, I don't think we would never be allowed to go to the cinema, because to tell you that nowadays going to the cinema back in Bangladesh is fine, but back then you didn't have nice people that went, and it would, when parents were like, you wouldn't just meet nice people there. It'd be we weren't allowed to go at the time. We would literally watch TV programs, and in school hours, or say Arabic hours, we'd just meet up and try and just really organise entertainment ourselves with games and stuff like that.
And you would play games?
Yeah, we'd play games. We'd just come up with random games and we'd just play games. I mean, nowadays a whole load of things have changed, but there are more facilities out there nowadays. They have like clubs and different kinds of classes that are held for people to for entertainment, for people to do. Well, back then, when I was growing up, they didn't have those kind of things, so it was just what you can do in your own home with your family and friends.
In the UK, do you feel like there's plenty of opportunities Muslim women for you to engage, to take part?
At the I think now I feel that there are a lot of opportunities for Muslim women to go and take part in. But when I first arrived in 2003, I didn't find it. I don't think easy to access. They may have been there, but I felt left out. As in, I didn't feel easy to access it. It's just now, I think, with the growing acceptance and the diverse people, that become more diverse, I think it's just gives you that confidence to go out and access those opportunities. And because people are more accepting of different faiths and cultures, it's easy to access those and gives you the confidence to go and access it.
And if your children are getting older and bigger, maybe there's more opportunity for you to look to do other things or engage in different ways.
Definitely, yeah. Obviously my children are bigger now. It's given me the chance to look at different things, what I want to do, go out there and just do what I want to take part in, whatever I want to take part in.
And is the centre an important part of that?
Yes, the community centre is an important part because it enables me to volunteer within the community. It gets me, I'm able to get to know people, the organisations around that are in our community that maybe have helped to me in accessing like opportunities. So and plus it gives me the opportunity to volunteer and help people around my community and just make other people aware of our community, our culture. So that's community centre is a great help.
And there's that for you as a woman, is it important to have those connections with the past and with family and with your culture and to share that, try to share that with your children and the wider community?
Yes, that is very important because it just shows that, especially to the children, it shows where we've come from, and to keep that in mind where we've come. And it's important just to for the wider community to just to know our history, our ways of life, and that we can work together in various occasions, and just to how to accept each other and have a nice peaceful community. So it's important that the kids get to know the cultural history of our background.
Just in relation to the War of Independence and East and West Pakistan within the Sunderland community, is there still divisions, or is there still some tensions, or is that completely in the past?
For me to say, I think that's all in the past. I see, all the time I'm engaging with other Pakistani females or males or communities. We engage a lot in various different things, and I think that's a thing of the past. It doesn't affect how we get on with each other anymore. So
And do you attend the mosque in terms of your personal worship? Do you go to the mosque?
Obviously, because the mosque is not facilitated, it's not big enough to facilitate women. I do go there for classes and everything, to listen to lectures and it's Arabic classes. It just doesn't feel
Thank you, Kush. Really appreciate your time. That was fun.